Rhiannon, thank you. Now, the Hornsea 2 wind farm, one of the world's biggest offshore wind farms, is delaying its available usage to customers, although it is apparently now fully operational. It's located off the Yorkshire coast in the North Sea, and the wind farm is capable of supplying 1.4 million homes. Yet households won't see any benefit from its promised low-cost power until April 2024. Now, that's because the Danish-owned Ørsted's decision to delay the contract. So that begs the question, is offshore renewable energy really the answer to our current energy crisis? Well, Offshore Energy's UK argues that wind, hydrogen and carbon capture and storage are the answer, and they're going further to encourage the next generation to forge career paths in the energy sector. Well, let's talk to Alex Tom, who's Workforce Engagement and Skills Manager at Offshore Energy's UK. Good to see you this afternoon. Thanks for joining us. Look, first and foremost, when it comes to Hornsea 2, let's be brutally honest, this seems a very strange decision if it's up and running but isn't going to supply us with anything.
I'm afraid that's the first I've heard of this, Stephen, and I'm not in a position to comment on that. What we want to talk about today is the exciting news that so many young people are now considering a career in the energy sector, which is diversifying at a rate that is really important for the future of the country.
Isn't it? When we look at projects, I mean, it must be frustrating for young people who say, look, I'm interested in this as a career. I'm interested in doing something which is beneficial to the country, beneficial globally, providing energy which is cleaner. When you see huge projects like this that then don't actually have the on button pressed for several years, does that not get very frustrating for young people watching who say, I want to make an impact and I want to make an impact now?
I think we shouldn't extrapolate this one decision to the whole of the offshore energy industry. There are huge opportunities for young people. It's absolutely crucial that we continue to attract them into the offshore energy sector. And that's just not just the oil and gas sector, which we have emerged from, but also the developing sectors that you alluded to, carbon capture and storage, hydrogen production, much of which will be done offshore, floating wind, and we're also looking at electrification of our platforms. And we're very excited by the results of the research that Offshore Energy's UK has commissioned from school pupils and university students.
What exactly?
It says that more than half of the young people who responded would consider a career in the energy sector. And that's essential, not just, as I say, for the offshore sector, but for UK PLC. We have a shortage of engineers, for example, and the opportunities are vast. We're going to need new thinking, new technology to reach our net zero targets in 2050 for the UK and 2045 for Scotland.
I mean, I'm not for a second trying to suggest that these are not laudable goals, and certainly it's an industry which needs, a huge amount of input, and we need the young people to get into that industry. But I just wonder if you're talking to a couple of thousand young people, and 50% are saying, well, we want to get involved in this in one way or another. I mean, it seems like a pretty odd statistic. I mean, it's not an area that most people are going to come out and necessarily have any sort of expertise in.
They will do if they take the right courses. As I say, the opportunities are endless in the energy sector. If you could think of a job that you want to do, then you'll be able to do it in offshore energy, be that from catering right through to industrial photography and everything in between. And we're particularly keen to attract young people to do apprenticeships, to do engineering. We're going to need project managers in the future, and we need more environmental scientists, people with digital skills, and who will be interested in getting into research and implementation of greater automation. So we've got remote operations. The opportunities are huge for an exciting and challenging and a high quality career.
Oh, no, that's interesting. I mean, it strikes me then as being if you'll excuse the comparison, a little bit like the army or any sort of, going into any of the armed forces, whereas we have a perception of it being one thing, but the reality when you get under the surface is there are 1,001 different careers you can have.
Absolutely. Well, we also need business support people. You can be a lawyer, you can be involved in HR, finance. You need all of those services to support the production of offshore energy, be that fossil fuels or in renewables.
I mean, presumably this is very positive for you looking at, 11 to 18-year-olds plus 1,001 university students, because this is all going to take time, isn't it? We're in an energy crisis now. We need urgent action to be taken now. Now, this isn't going to be it, but if this can get us up and running in another 10, 15 years, when presumably we could potentially have more energy security, then that's all for the well and good.
Absolutely. At the moment, we're focused on providing as much energy security as we can at the moment. The demand for oil and gas is there. It's not going to go away, and it makes sense to produce as much of that as we can from our own waters, from our own resources, rather than import energy. But all of the things that we've spoken about, carbon capture, hydrogen, etc., are going to take several years to develop. They're relatively long lead time, high capital expenditure projects, and which will meet the needs of society and enable the young people who have been very clear in their message in our research that they want to do something that makes a difference, will enable them to do that.
It's interesting because obviously, some of what you're looking at is looking at wind power, which we know is a bit controversial because we haven't got the storage. If we had better storage capacity, battery capacity in this country, it would make a huge difference. But what is it about carbon capture and hydrogen that would be done offshore? How would they provide us with any sort of sustainability, longevity in terms of what we would need power-wise?
So what we have around our shores is a network of reservoirs that produced oil and gas, which are now, some of them, depleted and are suitable for storing carbon dioxide, which has been produced as a result of, obviously, not just our industry, but the life that we all enjoy. So we have a tremendous opportunity to be at the forefront of that technology. Now, that can't solve all of our problems on its own, and you're right, there are issues around battery technology, but we're not approaching these things on their own. There is a massive amount of research going into the storage issue that you alluded to there. Yeah,
well, look, it sounds like a fascinating, I was going to say project. Project isn't the right word. Hopefully this has got the potential to revolutionise things, to give us that security that we need moving into the future. Alex, Tom, it's really good to talk to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
If you've got any views on that, of course, gbviews@gbnews.uk. It is a fascinating project, isn't it? And I know a lot of people watching are very against the sort of net zero targets and things, which are putting a lot of pressure on our economy at the moment. However, if you look at energy security, which is clearly what we need, especially we see what's happened with Russia and Ukraine at the moment and all the impact that's having on prices. If this is the way to get energy security, surely it's got to be a good thing. But it is a long-term project, as Alex was alluding to there. Any thoughts? Do get in.